My fork stopped halfway while everyone watched me at the Sterling dining table. Richard Sterling had called this a peaceful dinner, which meant someone was about to lose. The chandelier threw gold light across the glass table. Crystal plates and silver knives made the room look warm, but I noticed the contract beside my father's plate. Evelyn Sterling smiled at me. "My son," she said, "you look tired." Her voice was gentle enough to fool a stranger. Her eyes were not. They kept sliding to Caleb, who sat beside her with a blanket over his knees. I lowered my fork. "I can still read a room." Caleb's spoon stopped. Vanessa Cole squeezed my hand under the table. Her engagement ring pressed cold against my skin. I had chosen that ring 3 months ago, when I still believed love had weight. Now it felt like a chain. "Adrian," she whispered, "I will always stand with you." I looked at her smile. I almost laughed. In another life, those lips had kissed my forehead while I signed every paper they gave me. Then I woke in a hospital bed, missing marrow, shares, money, and breath. No one at this table knew I remembered dying. Richard pushed the contract forward. "Enough tension," he said. "This family needs unity. Caleb's health is fragile, investors are nervous, and the board needs one clear face." Caleb lowered his eyes. "Dad, don't make Adrian do anything he doesn't want." His voice was weak, but his timing was perfect. He always knew how to sound kind when someone else held the knife. Evelyn touched his shoulder. "You are too soft, Caleb." I watched them perform grief like actors. My fingers tightened around Vanessa's hand before I let go. Richard tapped the contract. "You will transfer your voting shares to Caleb tonight. Only for stability. You will still be part of the family. Part of the family." In my first life, that sentence had cost me everything. I reached for the wine glass because my hand needed something normal to do. The surface shook once. I set it down. Vanessa stood. "I need some air." She walked toward the balcony doors. Caleb followed a moment later, slow enough to look innocent. The glass door stayed open. I heard her whisper through the gap. "After tonight, Caleb gets the company, and Adrian gets nothing." My heartbeat did not rise. It dropped heavy and low, like a door closing underground. Caleb murmured something I could not catch. Vanessa answered, clearer this time. "Don't worry. He still thinks I love him." The room behind me kept breathing. My mother lifted her wine. My father checked his watch. Nobody noticed the last soft place inside me go silent. When Vanessa returned, she placed her hand on my shoulder. "Are you okay?" she asked sweetly. I looked up at her. "I am awake now." The table went quiet. Richard frowned. "What does that mean?" I did not answer him. I took Vanessa's hand and pulled the ring from her finger. Her smile cracked before she could hide it. "Adrian," she said, "what are you doing?" I placed the ring beside the contract. The diamond caught the chandelier light and threw it back like a cold star, returning what was never mine. Evelyn gasped. Caleb stared at the ring as if it had bitten him. Richard's chair scraped back. "You will not embarrass this family at my table." I picked up the pen. Vanessa's eyes brightened with relief. That almost made me smile. They still thought pain made me obedient. They still thought I would bleed quietly if they called it duty. I signed one page, folded it, and pushed it across the table. Richard grabbed it. His face changed as he read. "This is not the transfer." "No," I said. "It is my resignation from Sterling Group." The room went still. Then I took out my phone, called Naomi Reed, and put her on speaker. Her voice came sharp and clear. "Adrian? Freeze every Sterling asset tied to my name." Vanessa stepped back. Caleb dropped his spoon. Richard whispered, "You wouldn't dare." I met his eyes. I already did. Before anyone could speak, my phone lights up with a message from an unknown number. "You died for them once. Don't die for them again." Rain hit my face before I reached the last marble step. I stood outside the Sterling mansion with the contract folder under my arm, and the front doors closing behind me mattered more than any goodbye. Caleb, Vanessa, and my father were still inside. The iron gates opened with a slow groan. I walked through without turning back. My shoes filled with water, but I kept moving because 1 year ago, in my first life, rain had followed me to the end. That night, I had been on a hospital bed. Caleb had needed bone marrow. Sterling Group had needed cash. Vanessa had needed my trust. I gave all three, like a fool who called sacrifice love. The memory came in pieces. A needle in my spine. My mother's hand leaving mine. My father signing papers outside the glass door. Vanessa crying for cameras. I had died alone while my name disappeared from every record. My phone buzzed in my palm. Unknown number. You died for them once. Don't die for them again. I stopped beside the gate. Water ran down the screen, but the words stayed clear. I did not know if this was a warning, a trap, or proof that madness could text back. A black car pulled up. The back window lowered, and Naomi Reed looked out with sharp eyes. Get in, Adrian, I opened the door. You came fast. You sounded like a man holding a live bomb, she said. I prefer meeting bombs before they explode. I sat beside her and placed the folder between us. My hands left wet marks on the seat. She opened the first page. Her eyes moved faster than rain. This is not only a share transfer, she said. I noticed. No, you did not notice enough. She tapped the second clause. This gives Caleb your voting control, your patents, and authority over your medical trust. My throat tightened. My medical trust? The fund for private treatment, donor protection, and emergency care. Your father folded it into company assets. The car felt smaller. In my first life, I had wondered why the hospital moved so quickly. Why no one asked me twice? Why every doctor had a form ready? Now the answer sat in Naomi's hand. Can you stop it? I asked. I already started. She closed the folder. But we need copies, witnesses, and your silence in public. My family will not stay silent. They do not need truth, Naomi said. They only need people tired enough to believe a clean lie. My phone rang. Vanessa's name shone across the screen. The ring was gone from her hand, but her voice still knew my skin. I answered on speaker. Adrian, she sobbed. Please don't do this to us. I only wanted to protect you. Naomi's pen stopped. Protect me from what? I asked, from making a mistake. Caleb is sick. Your father is scared. I know tonight was harsh, but you are angry, and angry people destroy what they love. The old me would have apologized. The old me would have heard tears and forgotten the knife. I watched rain slide down the window. Then let the truth protect everyone. Vanessa went quiet. Adrian, she said, come back before this becomes ugly. It already is. Naomi's eyes lifted. The car stayed silent except for rain. The call ended. A second later, a message arrived from Vanessa. I opened it because some wounds begged to be named. Vanessa, he heard too much. Make him look unstable. My breath left slowly, then another message appeared. Vanessa. Sorry. Wrong chat. Naomi read it over my shoulder. That was meant for Caleb. I locked the screen. My hand did not shake. Good, I said. Now I know which mask to remove first. 10 minutes later, Naomi pushed a sealed envelope toward me across a quiet cafe table. What is it? I asked. Her face hardened. Naomi slides a sealed medical report across the table and says, Adrian, your family did not just steal from you. They planned your surgery without your consent. The medical report bent in my hand as I stepped into Westbridge Hospital. I stood in the third-floor transplant hallway with Naomi Reed, and every white wall around us mattered because my name was already buried inside this place. I came to check a report, not beg for mercy. The air smelled like bleach and cold coffee. Nurses moved past with soft shoes. My reflection in the glass looked calm. But my thumb kept rubbing the sealed edge of the folder until the paper. Warmed, Naomi stopped at a door marked Dr. Marcus. Hale, let me speak first, she said. I can speak for my own body. Her eyes softened for half a second. That is why I am here. Dr. Marcus Hale opened the door before I knocked. He looked at the folder, then at my face, and his mouth tightened like he already knew my question. Mr. Sterling, he said, this is not a good place for a confrontation. Then make it a good place for truth. The nurse at the desk looked up. Dr. Hale stepped aside. Inside his office, Naomi placed the report on his desk. I watched his fingers hover above it. He did not touch it. Guilty people feared paper more than fire. Was a donor procedure booked under my name? I asked. Dr. Hale removed his glasses. A preliminary schedule was entered. By whom? Your family's legal office submitted the authorization. Naomi leaned forward. With Adrian's consent? Dr. Hale looked at me, then away. The file contains a signature. I opened the folder and pushed my passport copy beside the form. That signature is not mine. Silence filled the office. Even the clock sounded careful. Dr. Hale swallowed. The hospital was told you agreed. Told by people who needed my body. Naomi clicked her pen once. Doctor, when was this signed? He turned the pages. His face lost color line by line. This can't be right, he said. I did not move. Read it. 4 months ago. My fingers stopped on the folder. 4 months ago, Caleb had still been laughing at board dinners. 4 months ago, Vanessa had still been choosing wedding flowers. 4 months ago, my mother had touched my cheek and called me her strong son. Dr. Hale said, Caleb's emergency decline was reported only last month. Naomi's voice sharpened. So the surgery papers were prepared before the crisis. The truth landed without noise. My first death had not been a desperate choice. It had been a calendar event. The office door opened behind me. Caleb entered first, pale and wrapped in a gray cardigan. Vanessa held his arm. Evelyn and Richard followed, dressed like grief had a family dress code. Adrian, Vanessa breathed. You came. Caleb gave me a weak smile. I told them you would. You are not cruel. I looked at his hand on Vanessa's sleeve. It held tighter than any sick man needed. Richard saw the file on the desk. This is private medical business. My body is private, I said. The room went still. Evelyn stepped toward me. You are his brother, Adrian. How can you be so cruel? People in the hallway slowed. A nurse paused. 2 visitors turned their heads. Vanessa lowered her face, and the first tear fell where everyone could see it. I held up the forged form. Love does not need a forged signature. The hallway went silent. For the first time, eyes moved from me to them. Caleb's smile thinned. Vanessa pressed both hands over her mouth, but she did not deny the paper. Richard's voice dropped. Put that down before you ruin this family. I heard the old trap inside his words. Family meant silence. Love meant surrender. Duty meant letting them cut me open. Naomi touched my elbow. Adrian, once we file, this becomes public, Caleb whispered. Please don't make me die for your anger. A few people gasped. I looked at the boy who had once taken my marrow, my company, my fiancé, and then my name. My chest did not shake. That scared me more than rage. I took Naomi's pen. File it. As I signed the legal complaint, a hospital intern showed me a viral post titled, Sterling Heir Refuses to Save Sick Brother, GHP.4. My phone kept lighting up while Naomi blocked the cafe door with her body. I stood behind a half-closed kitchen entrance with Naomi Reed, and the world was deciding who I was before I could breathe. Caleb was still in Westbridge Hospital, Vanessa was beside his bed, and my name was burning online. The screen showed my face from the hallway. Someone had paused the video on the worst second, with the forged report in my hand and Caleb looking pale. Sterling Heir refuses to save sick brother. I scrolled once. Then I stopped. Strangers had faster knives than family, heartless rich boy, spoiled monster, cut him from the will. Naomi took my phone. Do not answer. I was not going to. Good. Facts must arrive at the right time, or people call them excuses. I looked at my empty hand. In my first life, I had explained until my throat burned. Every explanation taught them where to hit next. A video loaded on the cafe television. Vanessa sat beside Caleb's hospital bed. Her fingers rested on Caleb's blanket like she had been born for tragedy. Evelyn stood behind her with red eyes. Richard kept one hand on Caleb's shoulder. Vanessa looked into the camera. Adrian is confused, but we still love him. Families have painful moments, and Caleb never wanted this fight. We only hope Adrian remembers who stood by him. Caleb turned his face away. The cafe went quiet. A woman near the counter whispered my name. Naomi lowered her voice. They are moving first. They are staging. The spoon in the woman's cup stopped. My phone buzzed. A message from Dr. Marcus Hale appeared. Dr. Marcus Hale. The hospital board is asking questions. I cannot speak publicly yet, but the date on the consent file is real. I stared at the line. 4 months early. That was not fear. That was planning. Naomi read it too. This helps, but not enough. What is enough? Original files. Internal company records. Anything showing motive. I knew where those files slept. Sterling Group called it an archive. I called it a graveyard for truths with teeth. I entered Sterling Tower through the side elevator with an old access card. The archive sat below the lobby, where no sunlight reached and no visitor asked questions. Naomi stayed upstairs to pull eyes away. My name had been removed from the board list, but the building still knew my fingerprints. The scanner blinked green. I almost thanked it. Rows of black cabinets waited under cold lights. My old invention files were in drawer C19. Behind dead contracts Richard had called not urgent. I pulled the folder free and saw my handwriting on the cover. Private Security Algorithm, AS. My chest tightened. Caleb had presented this algorithm before my first death. The board had clapped. Vanessa had kissed his cheek. I had stood in the back and told myself family success was still success. A sound came from the next aisle. I turned. Ethan Brooks stepped out with both hands raised. He was my assistant before Richard started moving my schedule away. "Mr. Sterling," he whispered. "I know I should not be here. Then be useful." His shoulders dropped like I had given him air. I kept backups. He pulled a small drive from his coat. Deleted boardroom recordings. I thought I was being paranoid. Paranoid people live longer. A weak smile crossed his face, then vanished. Richard asked security to erase them yesterday. I took the drive. "Why risk this?" Ethan looked at the archive door. "Because you remembered my sister's surgery fund when everyone else forgot my name. I had forgotten that kindness until he gave it back." In Naomi's parked car, I played the first recording. Richard's voice filled the speakers. "Once Adrian signs, Caleb becomes the face and we bury the rest." Caleb laughed softly in the background. Vanessa said, "He will sign. He still thinks love means obedience." Naomi's jaw tightened. I listened to the last recording without blinking. In the last recording, I hear Vanessa ask Richard, "And after the transplant, what happens if Adrian doesn't survive?" The recording played again while Naomi's office blinds shook. I sat across from Naomi Reed with Ethan Brooks near the door, and that room mattered because one wrong move could turn proof into poison. Vanessa, Caleb, and Richard were waiting at the hospital, but I had stopped walking into traps dressed as family. Naomi paused the audio after Vanessa's question. "And after the transplant, what happens if Adrian doesn't survive?" The silence after it was worse than the words. I could hear my death inside that pause. Ethan rubbed both hands together. "We release it now, right? People will understand." "No," Naomi said. I looked at her. "No? If we release it before the board vote, Richard will claim it is edited. Caleb will faint on camera. Vanessa will cry. The hospital complaint will look like revenge." I stared at the black recorder. It was small enough to fit in my palm, but it carried a coffin lid. So I let them remove my name. "You let them think they won." Naomi slid a document toward me. "Then we make sure they cannot touch what is yours." My phone buzzed. "Vanessa, come to the hospital tonight, sign the donor consent, and everyone will forgive you." I read it twice. Forgive me. Not apologize. Not explain the forged signature. Forgive me for refusing to become spare parts. Ethan saw my face and looked away. Naomi said, "Do not reply." I was not going to. Another message arrived. "Vanessa, Caleb is worse. If you still have a heart, prove it." I turned the screen down. In my first life, that line would have dragged me back. I would have run to the hospital with my heart open and my spine ready. Now I only heard the demand under the tears. They wanted my body, my company, and my silence. I signed the trust papers Naomi had prepared. Each page moved one patent, one account, one invention, and one medical protection out of Sterling hands. My signature no longer felt like surrender. It felt like cutting ropes underwater. Ethan passed me a second folder. "These are the algorithm files." Naomi opened them and froze. "What?" I asked. She scanned the pages. "Adrian, these are not side projects. I built them at night." Richard called them childish. "Then Richard is either blind or lying." She tapped the top page. "This security algorithm protects Sterling Group's hospital data network. The Westbridge contract depends on it." Caleb had smiled under cameras while standing on my work. Richard had called me unstable while selling my mind. Vanessa had asked what happened if I did not survive while the company lived because I did. Twist number 2 had a simple shape. My patents were not extra weight. They were the floor under their throne. Naomi's phone rang. She answered, listened, then looked at me. Emergency board meeting, she said. Richard is calling it now. He plans to remove you from every family position and from the founder wall. Ethan's face went pale. Sir, that wall has your grandfather's name too, I stood. Then I should be there when they pretend history obeys them. Naomi grabbed her coat. Say little. I only need one sentence. Sterling Tower's boardroom was full when I walked in. Richard stood beside the founder wall, where my name had been covered with a black cloth. Evelyn sat near the head of the table. Caleb leaned back, looking weak enough for sympathy and awake enough to enjoy it. Vanessa stood behind him, wearing the engagement ring on a chain like proof she had been wounded. Richard turned to the directors. Adrian has shown unstable judgment, public aggression, and disloyalty during a family medical crisis. For the safety of Sterling Group, I moved to remove him from all family-linked posts. No one asked about forged papers. No one asked about my body. The vote began. Hands rose one by one. Each hand felt like a door closing, but none locked me in. Richard pulled the cloth away from the wall. My name was gone. Vanessa whispered, Please don't make this harder. I looked at the blank space. Keep the wall. I kept the truth. The boardroom stopped breathing. As the board votes me out, every screen in the room goes black, and my private system message appears, Plot correction failed. Adrian Sterling is no longer expendable.